This is no joke. Feds are banning humorous electronic messages on highways. This started in Phoenix, the story did, but it's a federal news beacon that it's no joke. Humorous and quirky messages on electronic signs will soon disappear from highways and freeways across the country. The U.S. Federal Highway Administration has given states 2 years to implement all changes outlined in a 1,100-page manual released last month, including rules that spell out how signals and other traffic control devices are regulated. So starting 2026, all funny messages will be banned because they can be misunderstood or distracting to drivers. The agency, which is part of the U.S. Department of Transportation, said signs should be simple, direct, brief, legible, and clear. AKA, all the signs must be racist. Get it? Because legible and clear, and that's racist now. Because they're all dumb. Everybody's dumb. And so being smart is racist.
You need a bit more contrast in that joke.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it says it all. Now, that being said, what do you got for us, Doug?
I actually know of a sign because this popped up not related to anything you're like the law, but I actually popped up like on a random article I was reading. Ohio had a sign somewhere that says, going to visit the in-laws, slow down, get there late. Like trying to tell people like slow down, drive safe. That was one of the messages that Ohio puts up on those boards. Visiting in-laws, slow down, get there late.
Now those are illegal.
Yeah,
banned.
And I love that. I read that and I'm like, if I saw that, I would actually probably slow down.
You know what? You want to know why I appreciate Doug bringing that up? Because a crux of the point that I was going to bring up is just a basis in psychology. Like when it comes to marketing or psychology alone, strange or unusual information is more memorable. So incorporating unique elements in marketing campaigns can increase recall. Use unexpected visuals or unconventional product descriptions to make your marketing material stand out and be more memorable.
And that's
so again,
exactly
it only
what
makes
happened.
So it's still sitting with Doug, and he's not even on the freeway on his way to his pet. There's no holiday. He still remembers.
I'm still unsure if Doug has a car.
Yeah.
That reminds me of Ron White. He said, how I remember all my jokes and stuff. I pretend it's like a deck of 52 cards. I have the red, I have a jack, and I have whatever. And I have to go along with it, another red and the diamond, whatever. And it was just a memory tactic that he shared. And I thought that was pretty interesting.
So we were at the court, we're having discussions about considering like updating we have an online court management system.
Okay.
So it has all the cases, everything goes through this online system. Makes it fast, easy, efficient. We are the number one state or number one court in the state because we're the first to go paperless. It's this huge innovative system, but that started in 2005. Okay, well, imagine what Word looked like in 2005. So because of that, the buttons, the drop downs, everything's very dated. We have a brand new judge. To him, to new eyes who weren't there looking at it for 20 years, he's like, this is outdated. This needs to be updated. This can be cleaned up. And to our tech guy who, this program is now, he started this company, Henshin, started this program that is now used in courts across the state. And our tech administrator helped code it with them, like in tandem. We were the first court to have it, so he coded it with this company. And they did so now you're looking at the guy that coded the thing and be like, just aesthetically make it prettier. And he's like, it doesn't need to be pretty, it works. And so he, of course, is against the momentum of like trying to clean it up and stuff. And so through that dialogue, I was bringing up to them, when I was in law school, it may not be a surprise to you, but like articulating myself, coming up with creative, like abstract ideas and arguments, that's an instinct. to me, what, everybody's got their advantages and disadvantages. My major disadvantage is I really struggle with memorization. I just don't. And the problem is because I memorize all the things that I shouldn't, like Event 201 and when they told me that they had chemtrails and stuff that isn't important. That's all the stuff I memorize because it's like a more photographic memory than like a long distant memory. I can remember an instant, a scene, a face. That being said, law school then was the most difficult chapter of my life because the only thing being tested, which should be the skills I listed, the creativity and abstract thought and the ability to argue, truly the only thing that they measure is the ability to memorize. Because if you really wanted to test my ability to be a good lawyer, you'd allow me to have access to the books and then just take your test. But no, it's how much of all of the code can you spit out in 2 days? It's really freaking hard. So to me, I would make these, and you'd have to, for negligence, there's 6 different elements to negligence, and every single one of those elements is a whole different legal analysis that you got to do. So to answer this question, I got to break down these facts into the 5 different elements, and each individual one is a full analysis. You got to learn the definitions of all of the language. It's just a lot of memorization. To me, I'd make these long sheets. They were all color-coded with different colors, different associations, and I had them spread all throughout my living room. So when I'm sitting there at the test and I'm like, son of a gun, what was that? I'm thinking, okay, next to the microwave, by the cabinet handle, in the color blue, and boom. I know exactly what it was. So to me, that's an instinct to how our brains work. Like, I know that may be me more than others, but like to Doug's point, to how Brian presented it, the truth is I'm driving past knowing what none of these signs mean and noticing none of these signs. I mean, how many people fly through Newburgh Heights getting a speeding camera ticket where there is a sign on the freeway saying photo cameras, posted, and they still buzz right past the sign. I didn't see the sign. Well, guess what? It's there. So this is one, not only how it gets noticed, but then how it becomes memorable. I'm going to pass off to you guys, but then I want to play this game.
So with that being said, I have a sister-in-law who's very much loves these signs and will take pictures and show them. So I sent her the story. I want to get her, all right, it's for someone, because I'm half indifferent on this. Yeah, I think it's a little silly. Most people like it. So get rid of a program most people like. Typical government, typical bureaucracy, but regardless. So I sent it to her and kind of got her opinion on it. It's like,
yeah, what is it?
Makes sense. Because I slow down to take pictures of these and it's distracting. Damn it. I'm trying to get an emotional reaction here. I'm getting a logical one. So unfortunately, I think too many people are starting to take pictures of these.
Do you really? Because I was just about to say, okay, real quick, I got to ask. Because truthfully, that is a good policy reason. If people are slowing down to take pictures, then we got to stop doing this.
Yep.
But at the same time, do you guys know of anybody that's taking pictures of signs? Like, to me, I don't want to project that onto people. Like, I don't think most people are doing that.
So every street sign,
see it and I might point it out to someone. But usually it's like you see
usually
it as
you're on the freeway.
You're coming up
stop.
at 60 miles per hour. You can't pull your phone out and take a picture that quickly. So you just see
chuckle.
it, you remember it, and then you mention it to someone, and it's in your brain at that point. You're like, that was hilarious. I didn't get a picture, but I'm going to remember it forever.
So every picture you've seen of these signs on the internet is because of someone
taking a picture. I mean,
took
right.
a picture while they're driving.
You said that,
and it's like, damn it, that's a pretty good reason. Now, your article, or at least the article they have, the AP News, which hey, I'd say the AP is fairly reputable, did a shit job at any bit of explaining why they're getting rid of this fairly popular policy through the federal government too. Why isn't this just a state thing? Why does the federal government need to tell every single state to do this? That's for a discussion at a later time. However,
well, I'm going to get to
that. I wish they spent a bit more time kind of defending their position instead of going, just get rid of it, done. Don't tell the plebeians why.
Yeah.
We don't want them to know. That's the thing I have the most disagreement with on it. CF people are taking pictures and it's becoming a reputable problem. At least defend that position. At least go, well, hey, every picture you've seen, you've done. It seems like I'm doing a better job at defending a position that I don't really want to have versus the government who's mandating this. So that's just that's kind of where I fall on it, because it's funny, it's goofy. I think we all said, hey, we remember these a little bit more. Do we drive safer because of this? I don't drink and drive to begin with. I'm not too terribly much of a speeder. If I saw a sign that says slow down, pretty much the cops are going to be the reason why I slow down if I'm a big speeder. The only reason I wouldn't be a drunk driver is because the cops, the enforcement of breaking the law is really what's preventing me from doing it. Because it's one of those few things where it's in your own self-interest to just go faster so you get to your place quicker, or I don't need to drive a taxi to get home. Costs money. I'll drink and drive a little bit. I'll be all right. But I think on that end, it's popular in that regard, but I don't think it's necessarily changing the outcome of anything that happens on the street. As far as driving behaviors and how you go about it, outside of enforcement, I think that's really the only thing that gets people to follow the traffic laws. But again,
That's fair. Now, that being said, Brian, you have a comment?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So when I read the article and when I read the topic for today, mostly the article, I read it as, have you seen these the tickers that go, like, you have them on your back windshield and you can like flip somebody off or say like,
oh yeah,
thank you for letting me in, or
Yeah, how's that not distracting? How's that not
literally
illegal?
read that article as if they were talking about the ticker that people are putting on their cars to signal to other people what they're trying to say in traffic.
Yeah. So one, that would become a First Amendment dialogue. So I agree. You're right in the trigger mechanism where you're like, whoa. Now you're silencing speech within the car.
But then they said like it has to make sense. And I'm like, oh, okay.
But even more so, let's agree that there's a policy to, okay, if you're trying to cut down on distractions, a blinking middle finger at me is really increasing distract. But also, more often than not, when you're getting the middle finger on the road, you probably deserve one because the people on the road suck. Can you pulling up the picture of the signs, please? So Doug, Brian, also, can you when you're done, push the corner of the TV up so Doug can see?
Yeah.
Or Doug, if you want to, well, because I wanted you to be by the microphone. All right, perfect.
Say my first rodeo here.
Perfect.
Doug's an expert.
So it should be presentation, video.
It is a video.
Go to picture. Yeah.
There is no
picture. Then
it says extra camera slides, extra camera video.
Try video. And then is there a underscore? Because you might be able to just show a picture this way. Yeah, truthfully, we haven't really tested you.
There
signs.
You go.
And so just
go
with A.
I cannot open them.
It won't let you?
Correct.
Yeah, then you'll have to.
I could share screen.
Sure, let's do it that way.
Yeah.
That's just the quickest and the easiest.
Yeah. Put us on the dual and
actually, if he pulls up the folder, he can share the folder.
Yeah.
So that's what he's doing.
Okay.
So that being said, here's my premise here. I wouldn't even do that, Bri. I would just share the screen of, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
Just do that.
I got to open it before I can.
Yeah, you're right.
Share screen.
Okay. So this is sign A. Can either of you tell me what this sign means?
Steep incline. Trucks probably can't use, air brakes or something? I've seen those.
Trucks, steep incline, air brakes. What are your guesses?
Well, it's not air brakes. It's
whatever. Go at it. What are your guesses?
Yeah, it's a steep incline. You have an opportunity to have a runaway truck for like semis.
Oh, yeah, the runaway lane.
Yeah, it's a runaway, and it's not a runaway lane. It's different. That's telling you, hey, it's you're kind of right. 'Cause your brakes aren't going to work that well. It's telling semi drivers, hey, this is a steep incline.
Aware,
check brake.
Yeah.
So David is the most accurate.
Yep.
But again, there's still lack of clarity bringing it to what it actually means. And then it's that you are approaching a steep hill.
Yeah.
So it isn't directed. Again, all of us are motorists thinking, oh, that's a sign for trucks. Nope. Nope. It's for all of us, actually. It's just telling us there's a hill.
Oh.
Okay. Can you go to the second sign? Before I present the inquiry, I want the guests to see it. Okay. So that being said, what would you say this sign is for? Have you ever seen this one before?
Gets narrow. That's almost what I'm thinking.
David?
Yeah, this is. I think they use this in construction. It tells you, hey, there's like like not necessarily narrow lanes. Narrow lanes, it's a different sign. This tells you there's a section of the road that's going to be narrow for like a little bit, and it's going to be coming up.
So again, what?
I'm gonna say that it goes from 2 lanes to a single lane back to 2 lanes.
Oh,
So here's what's interesting. All three of you have a totally different perception of what it is. And what does it mean? Road narrows. Road ahead narrows.
So we were all generally there.
Nah,
But again-
Brian was way wrong.
Brian was way wrong. David
I
wanted
don't
it
think
in
I
a
was.
construction type of scenario.
That's true.
You had it the most rudimentarily. You just directly what it is, road narrows.
'Cause
And
you
even
would
then,
think
he
these-
was able to talk you out of it.
No. I was just trying.
I don't think I was
elaborate on
very
this, seeing
wrong.
If I'm on the same page, all I know is these signs should be your first thought looking at it. In my opinion.
Exactly. Oh, you're catching on. All right, let's go to the third one. What would you say this sign means?
Oh, I know this one.
Like electrified railroad or something like that. I can't tell if those are electrical things from my angle, but it definitely looks like some sort of railroad and electricity.
So, what's your guess?
Electrified track ahead.
Okay.
I'm gonna say that it is a you're gonna bottom out. The truck's gonna bottom out on the track if you're towing.
Okay,
a
David.
trailer.
It's a high point. It's a high point in the road where you can bottom out. You're Brian.
You guys
Right
understand the concept. So the language is moot. You at least would have received the warning of what the sign was. Low ground clearance on track.
See, I saw those
Yeah.
like whatever as like electricity things from my angle, but that makes sense.
Right.
Now I'm thinking that okay, that's not that. Now I know what those little arrow like zigzag things are.
Okay, so going on to the fourth one here. This is a very common one.
It's a very common one.
Dougie,
Slick road, right?
Yes.
what are you going to go with?
No, he's right. It's slick road. It's
You're
not-
going with
not-
slick road?
It's not well. It's not necessarily slick road, but you have the opportunity to like
Fishtail.
fishtail. Yeah. Like warning. Things get slippery around here.
Come on, Brian, dunk it up. Do you know what it is?
Slippery road.
Did anybody drop in the comments? Did somebody take a guess? Just look on the right
Okay.
there.
Comments, that would be
Okay. Ricky said narrow road.
No,
and
just the
then-
most recent one.
Yeah, wavy lane.
Swerving because of a good time in the car. No, you know what it is? Slippery when wet. So
Yeah,
again,
okay.
at least it brings to your
We all
attention
knew
to be
that was a
careful that it's slippery.
one. We weren't exact.
Come
we
on.
all at least knew like
Slippery when
You're a
wet.
little
Pretty
slippery with
common.
your
I would
language
have gotten
there,
it. I would have gotten it
Alexander.
right on multiple choice.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would have gotten right on multiple choice.
I got 100%.
But guess
on
what?
that.
Life is a multiple
I'll get to my
choice.
argument. Okay, we got two more left.
Oh.
Maybe. All right, Dougie, starting with you.
Does that mean like roundabout ahead, right?
David,
Yeah, you're coming up to the traffic circle.
Traffic circle.
Is that what you're going with,
roundabout.
Brian?
You're approaching a roundabout.
yeah, circular intersection ahead,
Yep.
approaching a roundabout.
Not as common around here. I mean, they are. I mean, they're popping up more and more.
They're
I feel
popping up
like.
more and more.
But like, I always feel like I saw those in Florida. Always.
There's a
in
few of them in Florida.
All right, so
All right, we got one more. Oh,
Is that really a sign?
last one. And this is why I went with this one.
and this is a real sign.
100%.
Questionable conditions.
I'm confused by the blue.
Well, there
Boom.
are so like orange is supposed to be
There you go.
construction. Red is critical. Pay attention. Yellow is like road
Classic
conditions or something
traffic.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
For
And
it.
so like blue.
That's why I went. So
blue,
so
I
again,
think is like rest stops and parking stops. Like
There you
rest
go.
stops and that stuff. So that must mean like some sort of stop is ahead or
Yeah.
location is ahead.
Doug, I'm impressed.
I like-
the guy has a mathematical analysis to
I
his
like-
thinking.
I like
driven
Ricky's-
enough
He's
times.
logical.
I love
I like
to drive.
Ricky's.
What's that?
I like Ricky's answer.
What is it?
help sign for information station.
Yeah, that
David?
Yeah, it sounds. That's not what I would have said
So
without the power of suggestion. But
Bingo. All right. So that being said,
critical thinking led to this,
which is
analysis.
impressive.
probably one of the few times it's ever been said out loud.
And Doug came here with the prior knowledge of the designation of signs. So all the signs leading up to this point are the ones that are pretty common sense, right? Like I could have put one up there with a picture of a cow. You'd guess, okay, cattle crossing.
Yep.
A farmer in a tractor, okay, farmer crossing, whatever. Like, okay, there's a lot of common sense ones. Oh yeah, there were some funny ones up there. But I was going to the, Department of Transportation and the signs that are federally across our highways. They are sectioned off. So as Doug indicated, orange is construction. So they had, construction workers ahead, flagger ahead, those types of signs that you've seen. And they had a whole bunch of different other ones, speed, interstate, those types of ones. I went with the blue ones to contrast that because we have our common ones. But then again, here's a blue sign that is on every freeway and every what's the
Interstate.
one? What's the one that you pay to go on? And every
Toll road,
turnpike.
yeah.
So you go on these roads, these signs are there, and literally name me a time. So what was this one for? I'm sorry, I conceded it, but yes. These blue signs are motorist services and recreation signs.
Okay.
And this one was to indicate information. Okay, so you're
Question
looking
mark
for
is
information on the turnpike. Are you looking for a question mark?
I'd be looking for an
No.
eye.
I'd be looking for an eye. Yep.
For information?
Yeah.
And guess what? That's not amongst their signs. So poor Doug's not even looking for a sign that's going to be coming up. But what you are going to be indicated by is the next sign that says rest stop ahead, and it's got Burger King and all the goodies. So it's like, yeah, we're hitting this one. I want to stop at Popeyes. So like that's what we're looking at. The scripted signs that also, speak to my stomach and entice me other ways. Then it's like, oh, cool. You got a pamphlet station with the information I was looking for? Good. Because I definitely wasn't looking for a little question mark.
But usually even and that one's just odd because even the blue signs telling you there's a rest stop coming up, they have like the bathroom rest stop looking sign, logo, whatever that image is, but it also says rest stop blank miles ahead. So not only does it have the logo of what it is on the sign, it tells you rest stop is coming up, or it tells you visitor center is coming up. Because when you enter into a new state, big blue sign, visitor center ahead,
It just shows the federal government's not necessarily consistent with some of its rulings.
Bingo. So in lieu of that, let me do you the favor of calling out their BS. Okay, so I'm going to present 4 major contentions why this act by the government is BS. David takes the position that, okay, yeah, this kind of sucks, but whatever. It's just what government does, and whoopsie, oopsie, whatever. It's a headache, but all they do is create occasional mild headaches. But why is this legitimate BS? One, I'm starting with the most belligerent. In what world is this not a conversation about states' rights? Okay, so we're creeping up on World War or Civil War II because we forgot the Civil War I was just about states' rights. I know that our propaganda today confuses that, but let's get to the fact that this is going to cause another fight because one, stay in your lane. Back to the crux of the last position, I don't trust the federal government, and the only thing that I can actually have an impact on is my local government. So stay out of our business. We'll figure it out. Because the humor part of it, as they said, they kind of like it. Said the Representative David Cook, Republican from the Globe in Phoenix, said, I think Arizona, in majority, likes that we do this, if not all of us. So then people are inquiring, why are you trying to have the federal government come in and tell us what we can do in our own state? Prime example that the federal government is not focusing on what they need to be. Because again, so now let me get to my second point. So one, this is a state's issue. But two, I think the agencies are unchecked arms of the government that we have no control over. That's a position I've reiterated on numerous occasions on this show. So that being said, explain to me then, not that. Let me present it like this, because
Okay.
you don't explain to me nothing.
Okay.
I'm going to explain to you what I believe is that this is just another example of agencies trying to make value of themselves. Because really, any politician who isn't paid for knows that what we need to do to ground this government again is eliminate all the agencies. So we need to just start chipping away at the ones that we don't need. So if we're looking at the Department of Transportation and Bukaki Buttigieg can't come into Ohio and actually fix a chemical spill that's poisoning half the state. Here's what happened. You had some dumbass that literally was just like, I want to be president, but really I just want to be a rich politician. And they were like, listen, step aside and we'll give you some do-nothing job. You'll never have to do anything. Come on, think he knows a damn thing about trains? You don't need to know anything about trains. Just sit there and collect a check, and then a train topples over. They try hiding it and ignoring it, but all the people on TikTok make it viral so you can't ignore it. And then they're like, hey, Bukaki Buttigieg, get in there, buddy. Got to do something. And he's like, I don't know a damn thing about trains. I mean, that instance showed how little the Department of Justice does, but even more so, the people in the position of influence, how little they know. They don't know anything about the agency they're in charge of.
And probably, and I hate to cut you off, but I think part of this just sparked this in my head. He's probably getting whoever made this ruling someone got in their ear and said, hey, people are taking pictures of these. And it might be 5 or 6 that they see ever in their lifetime. And they go, we need to change. This is so dangerous for everyone. And it's like, oh, you know what? You, Mr. or Mrs. Influence of a singular nature, let me just go ahead and change that for you here. And just got rid of it right there. Because where's the public outcry for this style? Like, it's not even like there's no debate. No one's going on.
No, I am. You're seeing it right here. I'm doing it right now because the people that don't know how to think don't realize that they should outcry because this is the first line
against this. So like there's no like Facebook mom going on,
the sign killed my kid.
We're not seeing that, at least at the drunk driving provision. Like, okay, I get it. I understand it. You can at least logically go to how this became a thing. Where here, it just seemed like, I think you're exactly right. I can't really make any sort of radical change that I want to, either because someone tells me, well, they pay too much donation, so don't screw with it. Or you don't actually have the power to do that. You need to get Congress involved, and no one's going to say that because, again, the people who pay for that are not going to do that. So he's like, well, I'll change this and get rid of that and say, 2+ people died, so it's great. It's wonderful.
So my question is with this, is this specifically for highways that you can't have these signs, or for
so what it
road?
is
Because
the
federal government controls the highways. That's their jurisdiction. So if it's those highway specific signs, that's fine. Ohio 82 is a state road. It
would also include interstates, right? So like just I-66. What's the one that they sang that Cars song about? I-66 or something?
Route 666.
Route 66. Okay, so routes are included. So
that's a historic route, though.
Sure. But that's why I brought it up. So again, even a route is a freeway, but it really isn't. It's just like a fast-paced state road, but it's owned by the federal government. It's not a state road. It's part of the Department of Transportation's jurisdiction. I hear you. Okay.
Well, so more general.
It's a strong inquiry because what I hear from you is no, they cannot stop. So Valley View does a lot of work under Alexander Road. There's an underpass. So from Canal to Alexander Road, there's always this like work being done. Okay. Or they're doing it currently. Does the federal government or the Department of Transportation have the ability to dictate what Valley View puts on their sign? No. But there are interstates or routes that go through major streets through Ohio that they would have jurisdiction on, and you just turned off one onto the other. And the bigger piece is this, that I'm glad it kind of struck a chord with you, David, because the reality is, what value is this? Like, what value is this besides proving to me you do something? And then you have because real change, this goes back to my favorite 21 Pilots song, right? You fell asleep while whatever the song. You fell asleep while I drove my car at night, and I cursed something about how I cursed the government because they, instead of doing anything else besides patching the holes in the ground. Yeah, I totally butchered that. You fell asleep while I was driving the car, okay? And I'm trying to keep you asleep and comfortable. but I have to avoid all the holes in the ground because the government doesn't do the one thing they're supposed to do, which is patch the freaking holes. So my problem is, what does it matter what the sign said as long as there's dead deers everywhere? And
if the conditions are good, what does it matter what the sign says?
yeah, even more so.
Because if the driving conditions are good, then the driving will be good. But if you have people trying to swerve a giant pothole in one lane, which causes an accident in another lane, whose fault is that really? Because do you necessarily want to blame someone for not driving through a giant pothole?
David, the Lord's favorite shill for the government, was sitting here trying to make an argument that everybody is taking pictures of signs. All I'm curious, because Doug triggered it and he's damn right, where's the census statistic about people dying from picture taking? It doesn't exist.
And honestly, if their concern is people stopping and take pictures of a sign, my real goddamn concern is the people slowing down to look at an accident, which then almost causes another accident.
Boom, Doug with the slam dunk, because every traffic jam on the freeway is a symptom to human nature. The human nature is I can't just drive past and not look. So the reality is, in a perfect world where we're all robots, there is never a traffic jam when you blow up your car in a lane.
Self-driving cars, damn it.
Yeah, take your picture quick because the Tesla's flying by.
But slow down that one.
So I want to double back. So I had 4 points. The third one that Doug really helped bring home was, I think it's just total BS that this claim that taking pictures is killing all these people. And even more so, the bigger issue, if what was the example they gave us? If the bigger issue is use your blinker, YAH, blinker, BLINKAH, use your blinker. If that's distracting, you're seriously going to try to make the claim that that's more distracting than the car on fire. But again, trying to cut down on those accidents, drunk driving, even though the last week we proved that's not even a problem. That's just more propaganda. But the reality is, if you're going to make this claim that that's the big deal, we want to cut down on the crashes, then focus on that, not these messages that make your messages resonate with people. Visiting in-laws, slow down, get there late. That's the Dougie Fresh. Don't drive star-spangled hammered is one in Pennsylvania. Hocus pocus, drive with focus. Hands on the wheel, not your meal. Another one. When I was in debate as a kid, people we did a congressional debate on making laws outlawing talking on your cell phone in your car. And I said, you better not ever. This just broke the whole room. Everybody just like short circuited. It was like, we're not allowed to talk. Like, that's outside of the scope. It's like, yeah, you don't know how to think creatively. But I was like, if we're going to do this, then I want all fast food joints outlawed. Because as long as Fatty can start wolfing down Big Macs, then the cell phone is moot. And they're like, wait, stick to the cell phone. So that being said, other ones, seatbelts always pass the vibe check. Cool, dude. Now, let's be real. The signs themselves, nobody is driving past seatbelts past the vibe check. And I go, oh my God, let me get this on here real quick. Because now I passed the vibe check. If anything, the guys chuckle about it, and in fact, it's referenced again, whether it meets us while we're playing poker and we're watching UFC. I saw the stupid sign, vibe check. What dorks. But guess what? I'm saying it again. Like, at what part am I missing that there's more value in grabbing eyes and make it socially attentive versus what? Now, and let's get to my fourth and final point, because first, let's get to the comment.
Ricky said, all that Fed money is not for taxpayers. It's for Ukraine. It's for the world.
Woo-hoo-hoo. So
because we're the police
I love
of the
it.
world.
So that being said, it brings me to my fourth and final reason why this is all BS and why I had us play this little game with the signs. The crux of your point is we want to make all of these signs by 2026 meet the standard where they cannot be misunderstood or distracting. What are the elements or the factors that determine that? It must be simple, direct, brief, legible, and clear. I don't think a single sign we put up there meets all 5 of those requirements. Considering all 5 people, all 5 of those signs depicted an abstract version of its intended message to every person in this room.
You know what they want? They just want straight up click it or ticket.
Yeah,
that's all they want.
No, they just
That
want a
is
money
all
bill.
they want
They
because
do not
that's the
care.
only one that apparently
Oh,
fits their
that's-
standard. Only one. And you know why? Because the federal government put that one out.
But even more so, Doug, they don't care if your son is dead on the street and they have to shovel him off the pavement. That they don't care about. All they care about is maximizing ways of making money. So if I can slap a fine on Brecksville for our freeway going through there and some kid putting on a silly vibe check message in the sign, slap. That kid might lose his job, but who cares? We just got $1,500 from Brecksville or whatever it is, $5,000, whatever the fine is to deter this behavior. But the reality is, I think what triggers this, what makes this necessary, I don't think the agency should ever act until we have one scenario. And I know it's bad. You don't want that. One life is too many and da 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 da. But until somebody is truly distracted and was like, I'm just a sign asking drivers to use turn signals. Oh my God, that's so silly. Crash. Like the second that happens, then maybe we need to have a dialogue. But let's consider all people drive cars, essentially, and that's across all different levels of education. We got dumb people, smart people, rich people, poor people. All people are able to handle this. And none of them are being distracted by the vibe check sign. Like, to me, this... If you can't even cripple or stop drunk driving, the least of your worries is the one person laughing at a sign where the rest of us are actually getting a better impression from the sign if it wasn't just something generic and boring. What's up, Bri?
Ricky beat Doug to the punch. He said, when I see click it or ticket, I think about it. LOL. Also, I say it to my passengers in the front seat so I don't have to pay their ticket.
Wait, can the
Really?
driver get fined for the passenger not?
Yeah. I don't
Because
know.
I thought they gave the ticket to that passenger, not to the driver.
No, it might be the driver.
I think they give it to the driver.
I think
'cause
they
it's
give it
gotta
to
be
the
through
driver.
Oh, well,
registration
now
of the
that's
car.
something else then I got to freaking think of. And now you're going to add another thing for me to think of and worry about behind the wheel?
Thanks, Ricky. You just made Doug that much more unpleasant to
Yeah,
drive.
thank you.
All right. So that being said, I'm going to wrap up my thoughts and pass it to you. That was it. I have 4 major points, and it's that I think you making the claim that it needs to be simple, direct, brief, legible, and clear are all beautiful words that we want from our signs, but means nothing. I think you needed to prove that you as an agency had value. And truthfully, when it comes to the standards you've created, I think all the signs you're currently using don't meet that. So heaven forbid you make it more engaging for the driver. The second piece was the taking pictures thing is moot. I really don't find it to be that impactful. So impactful to the point where we need to create laws that impact 350 million people and the way they experience their traffic law safety. Thirdly, I think this is a states' rights issue. So truthfully, I'm very worried to see, like, okay, I get it. This is moot. It's small. It doesn't mean a big thing. But where does it end? And you give an inch, they take a mile. And this will slowly evolve into something even worse. But that being said, let me pass it out to you. What are your wrapping thoughts?
The only other wrapping thought I have on this, I think we both agree this is a big circle. Like, thank God for Vivek Ramaswamy. This has just been a circle jerk show here for us tonight. The only other thing I have with this one, because this is, if we're assuming the person who's distracted by funny phrases or humorous phrases on the highway are probably also the same people distracted by advertisements, colors of cars on the road, things in which bumper stickers. That's definitely a big one.
David's becoming a lawyer before our eyes.
So if we're just already making the assumption we're going to be distracted by this, we're going to be distracted by other things. Let's at least be consistent with that ruling of the law. Now, do we need to make things overly distractive on the highway? I think we can both agree it's probably not a good idea. What we need to do is just be consistent with some of our rulings and really just make it. I think go back to states' rights. If Ohio wants it, great. If California thinks it's way too distracting for people in LA, whatever. get rid of it, or even take it down to the county level. I don't really care. But to just kind of just do this one swipe all, when I think the majority of the population feels this is maybe not effective, but like, let's talk about it. Let's bring up this, don't, slow down. You'll see your in-laws, later. Like, okay, I get it. All right. Okay. Maybe for like, if we're going to do on one end, hey, someone's going to die because they're taking a picture of this and it's going to cause a car accident. Well, maybe on the other end, well, hey, someone's going to save a life.
I was just about to propose that.
Because they're
about to see their in-laws.
People about. They're going to spread it
not
on.
even that. What if they're talk about the kid that's like late in their 20s, early 30s, like us. And to us, it's just instinct. You're driving on the road. A lot of people drive fast our age. Like you're driving fast. You're driving reckless. You're not thinking about it. And you're just trying to get to Boston. Parents are in Boston. I'm just trying to get to Boston. And then you see this sign that says, think about your family. You're about to have a fun, long weekend with your family, enjoying Thanksgiving. Don't show up in a body bag. Like, you start having this internal dialogue, whereas if it just said, slow down, speed limit posted, buzzing right past it. But now I've got this inner dialogue where I'm sitting there going, yeah, I couldn't imagine what this would do to my mom. And then you just slow down 4 more miles an hour. Guess what? I'm positive there's a couple instances of that where you can't find a single instance of somebody reading, I don't know, slow down, get the, whatever, don't drive Star Spangled Hammered. It's like, you can't find one of those instances, but I can easily at least imagine instances where multiple people are driving to their family and a family sign resonates with them where they're like, yeah, it isn't worth doing that to my wife or whoever. Brian, wrapping thoughts.
I think you guys summed it up pretty well. The signs are a bit, they don't need to be policed like everything else on the road federally. I've seen some unique signs traveling, and I always get a kick out of them because little things like lane changes or the way they list their speeds for different vehicles and whatever. I think that's very clever, and they should continue to do that. And if they standardize it across the board, I think that little nuance of traveling would be taken away. And I do like to read those signs occasionally that are up on the ticker saying, whatever. You guys said it pretty well.
I appreciate that. That was good. Good way of wrapping it too. Doug, you got any final thoughts? I'll flip it to you.
I have to agree with Seymour. You both said it well. I do have to agree with kind of David's last thought of do they really need to be standardized in that way of that? Because things are different in every area. Like LA's traffic is different than our traffic here in Cleveland. The traffic I experienced driving in Hawaii was worse and crazier than anything I'd ever experienced anywhere else.
You know what's so funny? I love that he raises that because getting prepared for today's episode before you all got here, because God, you should have seen the mess I had this place as when I was Twitch streaming some Fortnite. So I had to do a lot of cleaning in the studio, just putting all the equipment back together. And I was listening to Ron White on Joe Rogan's podcast. Ironic why that Brian brought him up earlier, but he was talking about the roads in Texas. And he goes, you don't get better than the roads here. We got the best roads and everything's, clean and in tip-top shape and everything else between, not even just our roads, but the turnaround roads between the highway. Those are in perfect condition. And you know what triggers me is it's like in Florida, they're not in good shape, but you can use them to turn around. What he's talking about is like those dirt berms between lanes on the freeway.
Oh, yeah.
And how funny is it that in Florida, they're not as clean, a little bit more dilapidated, but they're usable. You can legally turn around there on the freeway. In Texas, based on Ron White, they're clean and sharp and in great condition, and you can use them on the freeway to the point where they're so clean and sharp that it's probably encouraged more because they're so well kept. And then here we are in Ohio. They're there. They exist.
Emergency
and you get
use only.
And you'd get a ticket if you'd use them. Yeah. So How crazy is that? And so imagine being a guy from Nebraska and like, well, I didn't know that. You didn't have a sign up, or a guy from Texas. You're like, I didn't know that. You didn't have a sign up. So like to Doug's point, we even same federal road, and we even use them differently.
Yeah.
So like, yes, you can't standardize the signs for your federal road when the application and use of that road isn't even universal across the nation. I don't know.
I agree.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Rethink Tank Live. Join us every Tuesday at 7 p.m. streaming across the platforms on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok. We do our best to promote user engagement, and we want you involved. So be sure to bring your perspective live so we can get you in the dialogue. See you then.